Why do I feel like I overreacted to losing our baby? You should visit our miscarriage. Edit, and our Babylos, thanks for the suggestion. When my wife had a miscarriage, I realized that they are way more common than most people realize. So many people I knew told me of their own tragedies. I had no idea. We had to tell our daughter that the baby popped. It was hard. My wife took a long time to heal emotionally from the experiences. You suffered a loss, regardless of what your MIL thinks. Therapy might be a good idea, the same as any other trauma. Edit, as pointed out, a stillbirth is different from a miscarriage. You had longer to fall in love with your baby than we did. It must be awful. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to ask for help. I was telling our story to show that you're not alone and that you can heal in time. Grief isn't logical. There's no way to logic your way into your feelings changing. Right or wrong, these are your emotions. Don't let anyone else police them, not just because it is awful of them to dowhitch. It was awful of her to say, by the way, but because it can't actually change anything. Dispense with what you should be feeling and move on to what you are doing about the feelings. The thing you can change and affect is your actions. Are you in counseling? Are you getting help to process that grief productively and in a way where it moves through you and doesn't crush you? If not, go get help. You can grieve for the next 10 years and no one can say boo. As long as you're doing your best to do it in a way that doesn't hurt other people or yourself. And it may help you feel better. I won't say will, but it's a solid shot. But you should do it just because it's the best way to ensure your grief doesn't hurt other things like your partner and your other mental health. A death of a child is a death if a child. Do not compare your situation with others as they are all unique. It's unfair to everyone involved. Everyone grieves differently. Please allow yourself to grieve how you need to. It's okay to still hurt. It's okay that you need more time. Because our society fails people who experience having a stillborn child. You saw it with your mother-in-law. Get over it. The subtext, he wasn't really your child. Why are you upset? Stillbirth is a traumatic experience. But for some reason, we pretend as a society that you're supposed to be okay. I don't know why. I don't know what to do about it. I just know it sucks. If a 3-year-old dies and you can't get out of bed to eat or shower for a month, people will pity you. Cry over a child you hoped for and already loved that was stillborn. They act like you're hysterical. I can't pretend I understand what it's like. I knew the troubles my brother and his wife had. I know that parents like you deserve better from your communities. Your Umael is a horrible person. Of course you were grieving over the loss of your child. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You suffered a trauma, and conflicting feelings about it and self-blame are one of the defense mechanisms we have for trauma. It's a way to kind of protect ourselves from the enormity of what has happened. And that was a deeply shitty thing your mother-in-law said. But of course, she suffered a trauma as well, albeit not to the same degree, and she's just as at sea about it as you are and experiencing the same defense mechanisms. I would strongly suggest therapy to help you deal with your loss. It was serious and it's okay to be shaken by it. I miscarried a baby about 15 years ago, and from time to time, it still makes me sad, and I wonder who they would have been. It's okay to feel things. What you went through was terrible and awful and sad and raw. It's okay to let those feelings be and process them however you see fit. Hugs to you. Let yourself feel the love and loss for that baby. Reach out if you need to. You're gonna be okay. I lost my first child 30 years ago stillborn. I'm still not over it. My reactions, responses, and discussion look different to others and feel different to me, but I'm not over it. You lost a child. Your grief is yours and can look any way you want. Insensitive people need to take a lap. Never think you overreacted. The loss of a child is devastating, and however you acted is how you needed to deal with that grief. Whoa, all I needed to read is that you lost a child. You were not overreacting, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Feel your feelings, and I hope you were able to heal. I grieved over my miscarried baby who was only 12-13 weeks old. I even gave him the name I had already picked out, Aaron Robert. You are 100 not overreacting in your grief. And your MIL is a horrible person for telling you to get over it. You need to mourn. My heart goes out to you. I'm sorry for your loss. Your feelings are valid. Don't discount them. Sorry for your loss. You lost your child, a member of your family. Tell your MIL go F herself. Everyone grieves differently. You have every right to your feelings regardless of what they are. Losing your LO like that is quite traumatic. No, you're not just going to get over it because MIL declared it so. I would recommend a counselor of your preference to process things at your pace. I wish you and your family all the best. You should talk to someone, maybe therapy. It is totally reasonable to feel as upset as you do. You lost a child, even if you only had him for a short time. Your mother-in-law is an asshole. Your MIL can pound sand. You lost a child. Of course you're upset. Fucker. I know a couple that celebrates their miscarriage's birthday and even includes the name on holiday cards and everything. They act like the kid is still around, and that's prob a little much to some extent. But this was your kid and you don't need to get over it at all. I'm not saying do what this couple does, but find a way to honor your child even just in your own mind or own way. Time is a tricky thing, but I always look at unfortunate bad things in life as a possible choice in some magical way. Like in the movie Donnie Darko, where in the end he chooses to travel back in time and sacrifice his life to save people from the timeline where he would have lived. When I was a kid, my parents told me they always wanted 2 kids, and my mom got her tubes tied after having me the second kid. But it turns out they had a miscarriage before having me. This used to keep me up at night as a kid, wondering if I would have been that kid if it was born, or if that kid was someone else. Where would I be? Again, as a kid, and to my point above. Maybe there is a scenario where that kid chose to let my timeline exist. Who's to say how crazy that thought is? You aren't overreacting. Please give yourself some extra love. Your MIL needs a lesson on dealing with others' grief. Being invalidated for grieving by your own mother-in-law is awful and could be a contributor to your doubting your feelings of grief. You lived with your baby growing inside you until he couldn't anymore, and you lived through the immeasurable physical and emotional pain of delivery knowing he had passed. Not to mention the postpartum hormones afterwards. It's an experience no one wants to think about. It's not spoken about often. It's hidden away as a worst nightmare pregnancy situation, but it's also your lived experience and it's valid. You are entitled to feel however you feel about the loss of your baby boy, his potential future life, and the life your family would have had together. You are not overreacting. HTTPS. Not sure where you are in the world, but this organization has lots of resources and a 24/7 helpline. Take care of yourself, OP.